Hey there, friends. So today we are going to introduce the RouterPlane, which is one of the tools listed in the Teacher's Handbook of Sloyd as being part of the kit. Now let's bounce over here real quick, see what the Teacher's Handbook of Sloyd has to say about it. You can see that it is just a simple, very simple tool. It is an iron that is held vertically, normally in a piece of wood. The traditional one is a piece of wood. Of course, we use the metal ones today. You can see in here that it's actually called the old woman's tooth plane. Of course, we are a little bit more evolved than that. We simply call it the RouterPlane. So the RouterPlane, let's get a closer look here, is, as you saw in the picture, it is just a base and it holds an iron, a cutting iron, perfectly vertical. Now this particular one has a lock on the back, so you can set it to depth and lock it in. It has a depth stop right here, which allows you to set the depth where you want to go, and then this micro adjustment wheel, which allows you to take it down to depth. So how do we use a RouterPlane, and what are some of the things that it's good for? Where I think the RouterPlane excels is if you are cutting a dado across a particularly large panel. Now I'm getting ready to, or I'm in the process of building a Dutch tool chest, because as you have probably noticed, I've got tools that I'm accumulating and they're starting to lay around. I need to find a better place to organize that. So the RouterPlane allows us to come in here. I've got my depth already preset to the depth of my cut. So we'll loosen the wheel on the back. We will take it down just a little bit. And you can see I've already got this dado started. I've cut my edges, cut my walls, and took out some of the rough stuff. So let's go ahead and lock this in. And we're going to start with a very shallow pass. And we'll do a little bit of a paring type stroke, just like we did with a chisel. So we'll come across here, we'll chisel. All right. I actually went out the back. I shouldn't have done that. So let's come in this way and just clean that edge up a little bit. Now, the router actually allows you to push it in a full forward stroke, or you can do a pivot and do more of a slicing cut. All right, so that's got that in there. So we'll loosen the back knob and we'll do approximately a half turn of the Tell you what, I want you to see this. You see how we're starting to get curls? Just like we would in a regular plane. That's already got it cleaned up pretty nicely there. So we'll loosen the knob, do another half turn, and now we'll come in again. We're just going to work our way down to depth. No hurry. Small cuts as we go. Again, come in from the backside. Because this thing has a depth stop that was preset, I don't have to keep looking at my gauge line on the back side, because I know it's not going to go anywhere below that. Okay. We're about 1/2 turn away from being at full depth. Let's come back over here. Can you see how I'm starting to get now a full length shaving? Which means I've taken out my high spots. Loosen this up. Now, I am at full depth right there. All right, nice clean cut there. All right, I got another piece of wood mounted on the bench. I just did a very rough 10-inch shoulder right here. In fact, when I did the shoulder, I made no effort at all to keep it square or flush or anything like that because I want to show you what the RouterPlane really does. And that is to get in and help make a uniform shoulder. Get rid of the saw marks and make it a nice flat. So we'll take our RouterPlane and we'll do the depth adjustment until it's touching at one of the lowest spots. Let's tighten this up, and now we'll come in. I'm actually going to put the dog hole over here, the dog over here, because I'm gonna bring this thing towards me. The wood mounted securely in the vise, and now we're going to come in like this, and we're going to do our slicing cut, taking our the part of the RouterPlane that hangs over the wood the most, good firm pressure down, and with the other hand, we're just going to do our slicing strokes. All right, loosen that. Let's go down about a quarter of a turn. More slicing strokes. Clean up along that shoulder there. Okay. Let's do about another quarter turn. Okay. Just a shaving stroke like that. Kind of pivoting, give it a little skew, and then we can come in right here, clean up that shoulder. Because you now have your depth locked in using this particular knob, when you flip it over, you could and do the same type operation, working your way down about a quarter turn at a time, you will have a uniform mortise and tenon. Or maybe I should say you'll have a uniform tenon for your mortise and tenon. So friends, is this a tool that you need in your toolkit if you're a hand tool woodworker? Now, the Teacher's Handbook of Sloyd does list it as a tool that should be in the Sloyd teacher's toolkit, teaching the kids how to use it. But I'm not sure that that's really the case. So I really want to hear from you, especially some of you. You know, I've got several viewers that are much more experienced hand tool workers. They've been at this for a long time. Drop a comment and let us know as a group, what is your experience with the RouterPlane, and is that something that you would recommend as an early purchase for the hand tool woodworker? Okay. Having said that, before I give you my opinion, I'd really like for you to drop your comments down below, because I want to know what you think, not necessarily what I think. Okay. So now that you've got those comments down there, I'll tell you what I think. I think this is a nice to have tool. I think it's very high quality. This happens to be the Veritas RouterPlane. There's a couple of others out there that I think are absolutely just as good. And I think this is a very nice tool to have. It does make your cutting of your dados and your tenons, it makes it faster, it makes them better. and it actually helps you in your woodworking. But is it a tool that you really need? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is absolutely not. Everything that we did here could have been done with a good set of chisels, good sharp set of chisels. You can do your paring strokes. You can do your vertical strokes to make sure you have nice flat. So there's nothing that we did here that couldn't have been handled with a good set of chisels. The dado that I cut on there, because it was a 12-inch wide panel, that would have been difficult with just chisels. So having the RouterPlane does help, but again, it's not absolutely critical. There are ways you can come in with your chisels and going with the grain as opposed to across the grain. We could have accomplished the same thing. It would have been more work, would not have been as clean, but it would have gotten the job done. And what you've heard me say many, many times is use what you have. So what I'm trying to say is if you don't have a RouterPlane, and if you're just getting started, it's not a tool you need to get out there and buy right away. In fact, there's ways to make your own. Paul Sellers does a video on the poor man's RouterPlane where you take a block of wood and you drive a chisel at a 45-degree angle through the block of wood, and it suffices. There's other videos out there on how to make your own RouterPlane. Now, it's not going to have your depth stops and fine micro adjustments and things like that. You're going to adjust it with a tap of a handle, but they work. They work. Okay? So I actually regret buying this. Again, not because it's a poor quality tool. Exactly the opposite. It's a very high quality tool. But for the work that I do, this tool is not appropriately. In fact, I violated my own rule number 2 on getting started cheaply in woodworking. 2, don't buy a tool until you know you need it multiple times. Okay? All right, so you see from that clip that don't buy a tool unless you know you're going to need it multiple times. I bought this tool thinking I might need it, but the reality is I just don't do enough casework for this tool to pay for itself. So great tool, good quality tool, should not be in my workshop. All right. Now that you know my opinion and you've already made a comment with your opinion, drop a 1 down below. Tell me, am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know what you think. All right, friends, that'll do it for this video again. Take care. God bless.